That's it. Please answer. With Noam Sampson, you acknowledge that these people will grift away when Israel isn't popular to make media careers. A podcast like Matt is making. Dog, I don't think Matt Duss is invested in becoming a full-time podcaster. He is a foreign policy advisor for a think tank. Okay, that's his job. It's like saying Jim Clyburn is grifting to become a podcaster. The Bad Empanada stuff, he gave legitimate criticism. This isn't a drama. Yeah, I'm sure in his video there was more legitimate criticism, but it's not legitimate criticism to say I'm a Zionist and all my fans are a Zionist. I think we're like, I don't know what the extent of his argument is beyond Hasan had Matt Duss on his broadcast and did not sufficiently address. He didn't say that. Yes, he did. He did on Twitter. He did. And that's what his fans have been saying as well, that are my fans as well. So to act like that's not a thing that he came out of the gate swinging as is literally wrong. He did say that. Why are you guys acting like he didn't say that? He might have like a much better point of criticism overall, okay? But I but like by the time I had addressed his concerns, it was that I have Matt Duss on the broadcast. Check the comments on your video you posted about it. No one is on your side, buddy. I don't care. Okay, sure. I don't know why. You guys just want to extend it. That's my point. And every time I even touch it, it's going to only further extend because the cycle will move on. It already has moved on. It moved into Hasan is defending Matt Duss or his positions, which is not true. Okay? Most people didn't even watch the back and forth that took place, or when they were listening to it, they just like checked out from some of the statements that were being made or whatever I was saying as a counter. Okay? The reason why I had this conversation platformed a person that is directly that directly has the ears of politicians. It's ridiculous. He's not a podcaster. He is a foreign policy person. The reason why I had that conversation with him first and foremost was because I wanted to have a talk about Ukraine. Okay. Obviously, we mostly also covered Israel-Palestine. I was unfamiliar with a lot of what he had said in early 2023, but my position has always been that if someone is like actively saying that Israel's doing it and Israel is engaging in war crimes and Israeli politicians are war criminals and American politicians are also engaging in war crimes, and they step out of the way and don't actively present themselves as a hurdle towards people who are advocating for even more radical things, then I will hear them out. Okay? Honest question, why don't people think Matt has changed? He hasn't said any of that awful stuff recently and has actively changed for the better. Hasan and Matt agreed on most things in the conversation. I feel like he's changed, but maybe I'm naive. It's because people understandably take everything that he's saying with a tremendous amount of skepticism. Okay? And that's perfectly valid. Okay? That's perfectly valid. But a lot of people also don't understand that, like, there is smoke that I have for people who are active heirs. There's smoke that I have for people who have spent every waking moment actively attempting to deplatform people who are speaking out for Palestinians and Palestinian emancipation. I saw a lot of the stuff that he had said. Or a lot of the stuff that he reacted to. It's completely unacceptable. Okay? I totally agree with that. And I did not know. And before people say, well, why didn't you do your due diligence? He's a foreign policy person. I'm not aware of like every single thing that he has said on the Bill Maher show, for example. Okay? I'm aware of the things that he has said recently. In any case, the goal that I had with understanding his position and also showcasing the position for my audience in particular was to ensure that we get a broad swath of different opinions, even ones that I disagree with, within the bounds of reason. Matt Duss is a person who I have disagreements on, at least on Zionism, and it seems a bunch of other things that he is. It seems like a bunch of other things that he said about Palestinian emancipatory movements in general. Okay, some of the things I did not know about. Having said that, it is important for all of us in this community to also recognize what the most, it's important for people to recognize is that that is the most radical, quote unquote, position that someone who is firmly within the American foreign policy blob has. Even if we understandably disagree, myself included, that is literally the most radical position. Matt Duss, a friend of mine, put it this way, is one of the few people that actually has the direct phone numbers of these people that he is like saying is a war criminal. Okay? No one, there's not that many people. So it's important to understand that the limitations of American foreign policy apparatus as well. Okay? The most radical foreign policy person with any momentum or any movement, any motion in this space, still thinks Zionism is good, okay? But people being like, we demand an apology. You need to delete this interview. Like, I'm not going to do that. It's just, that's not a thing that I'm ever going to do. It literally feels, from my perspective, I'm being super honest with you, it feels like the exact same thing that happened with like, Hasan, you bought a house. Why don't you apologize for that? And the reason why I feel that way is because you're discarding every other thing that I've done in the process and not even remotely trusting the initiative I'm taking here is not the same. Yeah, it's not the same because you don't agree with it, but you agree with this other thing. Amy Goodman and Sam Cedar have Matt Duss on and are not even remotely contentious with him at any point when they have them on. I don't see this level of smoke for any of those people, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't receive smoke. And nobody's out here being like Sam Cedar and Amy Goodman are agents of Zionism. Maybe Bad Empanada is. But I haven't heard a single take from any number of people in my community against those guys. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't either. It's just parasocial. It's because I'm literally accessible. That's it. That's it. Any sort of additional cynical interpretation, beyond that like I'm doing this for some gain. I'm doing this because I was... his first complaint was you uploaded the Matt convo, but not yours with him. Wait, what? Anyway, the chatters don't see Bad Empanada as a tool to genuinely make you seem less radical for the public. Chat is falling for the internet back and forth of it all. Every Bad Empanada video with you always ends up focusing on how Israeli propaganda works in liberal circles and never about how you're evil. It's like chat doesn't actually watch the videos. I'm sure they don't. That's what's annoying about it. That's it. Anyway, that's all I got. The idea that I'm like, getting paid to do a Matt Duss interview is so funny. Yeah, definitely. Or I'm getting groomed by mainstream media to pacify the leftist movement. There is, anyway. I made that clear too, in the aftermath of the conversation. And if people don't approach it with grace, please understand that there is real and valid critique if you look beyond the rabid people attacking you. No, I do. I understand. The valid critique is people saying, I should have been more combative. I should have pushed back even harder, or I should have been more skeptical, or I should have had the prior knowledge before having him on about like everything that he has written on the subject matter. That's the valid critique. And that's fair. You know, that's fair. Some of those criticisms are fair. I don't think that like you have to be inflammatory when having a conversation with him is not fair. I don't think that that's fair critique. But it's not like I agreed with him. I disagreed with him. The disagreements were just not aesthetically as aggressive as many people would want it to be. That's it. You wanted me to like have him on and ritualistically humiliate him. And I also even understand that as well. And to be fair, the most valid criticism is if you knew these tweets or if you knew the things that he had said and done in like 2023, I would have absolutely brought that up, especially because I was talking about like his own personal development of like when he decided that this was it as opposed to before it was just war crimes. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not here to like launder his reputation. I don't care to do that. I don't care to do that at all. I think one of the fairest assessments here that I absolutely should have done and if I have another conversation with him, I will, is asking him about the differences, of like how he approaches Russia and the full-blown mother of all sanctions that Russia has received for unjustifiably invading Ukraine, as opposed to Israel. Okay? That, I think, is the best, most productive conversation that could take place, because that is something that he has advocated for and has been a champion of. It's just like full-blown sanctions to Russia. And that's not something, seemingly, he is an advocate for Israel. And the question is, why? You know what I mean? Also, this is the perfect depiction of why this kind of conversation turns ultimately into an unproductive, idiotic assessment. I missed out. Is he tripling down? I don't know, man. Why don't you watch the VOD and then make up your own goddamn mind? Why do you wait for another person? Watch the VOD. This is what I mean. You're horny for drama. You're horny. This is not a question that you ask sincerely. This is a question that you ask when you are horny for drama. You're just horned up. That's it. Also, it's such a blip, and it's so entirely irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. This is such bad faith, man. I know, I'm just bad faith, brother. You going, I missed out. Is he tripling down? Salivating at the prospect of more conversations surrounding this issue when it is ultimately inconsequential and insignificant. No matter how big you think this is, okay? No matter how big you think this is, it's not. I promise you. You can think it's big. It's not. Ermingard, yeah. Like, when he said Zionism in its inception was not considered like a violent ideology or whatever, it was just Jewish self-determination. I countered that by talking about Einstein when he tried to make a distinction between, offensive and defensive weapons and defend AOC. I pushed back on that. I said, do you think that the Nazis would deserve anti-aircraft weapons? Do you think Russia deserves anti-aircraft defenses? We wouldn't even give them to Ukraine. Like, he conceded on that point. I don't know. I don't know what else to do in that situation. Should I just like humiliate him and be like, I don't think you believe this? I didn't know enough about his background, and I have no reason to believe that he's being insincere. So yeah, that's it. Please answer. With Noam Sampson, you acknowledge that these people will grift away when Israel isn't popular to make media careers. A podcast like Matt is making. Dog, I don't think Matt Duss is invested in becoming a full-time podcaster. He is a foreign policy advisor for a think tank. Okay, that's his job. It's like saying Jim Clyburn is grifting to become a podcaster. Anyway, and you even said that these people can only be redeemed if they whistleblow their funding. Just want to genuinely know, how does Matt qualify for that treatment? Matt is a foreign policy advisor, okay? And I didn't know to what extent he was defending Israel or attacking Hamas and Palestinian resistance. That's it. If I did, I would have absolutely brought more things up to specifically identify whether it is some cynical purpose that he has now changed his attitude, or if it's like a genuine difference, a genuine well thought out difference in opinion. But you should have known as a problem? No, I don't think it's ultimately that consequential. I mean, sure, it's up. Here's Bad Empanada endorsing Bernie Sanders' foreign policy everyone. 5 years ago.
Ruben.
The rest of the world endorses Bernie Sanders for U.S. president. Yeah, it's ironic because the guy who wrote this policy that he is endorsing, which I suspect is like the Israel, this was written by Matt Duss. That was Matt Duss. He wrote that policy. That's it. I think one of the, there's a difference. Some people, like myself, look to Bernie Sanders as a major disappointment on the issue of Israel because of all of the knowledge that he is supposed to have around this issue, considering that he was one of the lone voices in American politics that was actually the pioneer that played a formative role in advancing this conversation. And with these kinds of attitudes, with this kind of push, partially with Matt Duss writing this policy for him, okay? And therefore, the biggest frustration that I have is that he has just remained calcified in this liberal Zionist framework. Okay? That is frustrating. That is unacceptable. That is sad. I don't, on the other hand, think Bernie Sanders is Adolf Hitler reincarnate like some people do. Okay? That's it. That's it. Some people will treat Bernie like he is Adolf Hitler. I don't think he is. I think he's an old man. It's disappointing. Anyway. I know I'm an outlier with my opinion, but overall the interview was a net positive. It's not show that two people can have differing opinions in a civil conversation. Still does show to a lot of people who are unsure of his politics what they are. Sure, we all have some criticism, but I think we need to be careful in the line of criticism because of projection of our own personal bias. I mean, I don't even think that it's like inappropriate to criticize Matt Duss for like Matt Duss for his former opinions. I think that's valid. Hasan is a bad representation for the left. I know. Anyway, 1 to 2 hours in like 60-hour week of coverage, which is almost 100% about Israel. People who think this is a big deal are either bad faith or entirely too caught up in the online vector of this issue. Yes, that is what it is. That's precisely what it is. Anyway, ultimately, no bad blood, as I've said. I don't give a what a Bad Empanada says. I'm still going to keep doing what I'm doing. He's going to keep doing what he's doing. I think he's still ultimately, in spite of his behavior online, is a force for good. It's just a nuisance for the most part. It's a nuisance and it's annoying, but it is what it is, you know? And the same goes for even people who are like annoyed with this interview where they were like, you have to apologize. It's not going to happen. Like, I'm not going to apologize. It's not like I had like people are comparing it to like Nelk Boys interviewing Benjamin Netanyahu. And before people say, oh, you just pick apart like the dumbest arguments and then hyper focus on them to make our position seem silly and irrelevant. It's like, okay, well then don't make dumb arguments, because the overwhelming majority of comments are literally saying shit like that. What is this? I swear to God, if Hasan doesn't ask me specifically for permission before talking to his next guest, someone with very bad opinions unearthed by who I only find out exists during this interview, but I'll pretend I knew beforehand. He's done for. He'll opine and complain, and I'll simply state, you didn't even ask that deep fried hot pocket that smokes cigarettes with cool sunglasses if you should be dead to me, man. With you, I'm sorry, it's difficult to tell if it's just a smelly orbiter masking as a fan that's disappointed. No, I don't. I think that there are a lot of people in my own community that were mad while the interview was going on too, you know? And they were certainly genuinely mad when the interview was posted on my YouTube. It's not just like Bad Empanada coming from, it's not all Bad Empanada fans coming in to be like, you piece of shit, you know? Yeah, the Nelk Boy comparison got thousands of upvotes on your YouTube video. Exactly. It's psychotic. You piece of shit. Anyway, I've betrayed the Palestinians, but I will, of course, continue to do my coverage as I always through thick and thin, no matter what. But if you think that like you know, I'm not allowed to interview this person or that person, you're wrong. That's ridiculous. This interview lost you a third of your community again? No, that's just the weekend, man. That's crazy. Yeah, no, you're right. This interview, I lost a third of my community because I was pro-Palestine after October 7. And then now, yeah, I had 40,000 people watching on Friday. Like, I think it'll be fine. And also, there's a massive event happening called the Streamer Games. I don't know if you knew that. Also, people thought I was being sincere when I said I'm being canceled. If I say I'm canceled, I always say quote unquote canceled, number one. And number two, that's not a real thing. Okay? That's not. Maybe one day, if I actually do something that is like, you know, truly up, but that's not how this works. That's the other thing. Yeah. If the interview was as bad as people are making it, Bad Empanada would have put clips of the interview in his video instead of dwelling more on tweets from 2 years ago. Exactly. That's number one. And number two, I think some people in the community would have liked you to be more like Crystal Ball was with Slotkin, but you didn't know the extent of his comments about Palestine. That's true. But also, Crystal Ball is not calling what Israel's doing. Crystal Ball is also, in that interview, said that she wouldn't even vote for weapons transfers. So like Crystal Ball automatically, or not Crystal Ball, sorry, Slotkin automatically is in a way more contentious position, not Crystal Ball. Yeah, if Matt Duss came on and was like, I don't think Israel's doing it, and I would never use the term when talking about Israel, or I don't think we should stop weapons to Israel. Yeah, do you think I would have the same like, oh, okay, this is a reasonable disagreement? No, of course not. This is not the same situation. Yeah, Crystal Ball interviewed Matt Duss. I assume everyone has interviewed Matt Duss. Let's see. The very same chatters that are talking about that. So now we saw Good Empanada 5 years ago defending Matt Duss's foreign policy acumen, talking about how Bernie Sanders is awesome. And chatters were bringing up Crystal Ball. And I already showed you like where is it? This is from 5 years ago. Matt Duss reacts to talking points on U.S. officials on Israel.
Right. I think it's just
Middle East Eye.
Who keep repeating the same. It's like, how do you...
Damn, that's crazy. Middle East Eye. Also platformed Middle East Eye. Also an agent of Zionism. Let's see. Has he been on Al Jazeera?
Matthew Duss is Executive Vice President of the Center for International
Policy. What the going on? This guy's everywhere, dude. This agent of Zionism seems all of our outlets are compromised with only one exception. Bad Empanada. These entire newsrooms, these entire professional media productions that have groups of producers are offering a platform to Matt Duss. They must also not have seen the tweets. This is why I said it's like the house situation. Everyone that is anti-Israel at some point has literally everyone that is anti-Israel at some point, anti-Zionist at some point, okay, has interviewed this person about Israel. And I'm willing to bet that it was actually nowhere near as contentious as my interview with Matt Duss, as a matter of fact. And yet, for some reason, this is the only person that you have an issue with in this community. Just ask yourself why. That's it. Okay? That's it. That's it. Ask yourself why. It's because I'm accessible. That's it. That's it. Would you read your comments, your community on their feedback? Yes, I have. People get tuned up and they lose charity. People get tuned up and they lose their charitability very quickly. And then they say incredibly harsh words. I've seen some wild comments about you under that video, Lamau. I know. They say incredibly harsh things. It's okay. You know, I'm a leftist content creator. I'm a socialist, anti-imperialist content creator in the United States of America. I've been doing this for 10, 12 years at this point. I've heard it all. I mean, I'm getting threats right now, like active threats from a cyber stalking cult that has been up my ass. That's incredibly pro today. People are trying to deplatform me today because I said Palestinians have a right, a legal right, a responsibility, and a moral obligation to defend themselves against an occupying force that is illegally occupying them, conducting a night raid. It doesn't matter who is conducting that night raid in that time frame during that night raid. They have a legal right to defend themselves militarily. They have a right and a moral obligation to defend themselves if they choose to do so. Doesn't matter who is wearing the IDF gear. And now people are trying to say that I'm advocating to I'm doing death threats to content creators right now. That's not the case at all. It's not. They're doing that because they want me deplatformed. That's it. Brother Habibi, listen, I don't blame you for having that motherfucker on. I actually ever heard. Just don't let this turn into a price offer situation. Take some accountability. Yeah. Oh my God. Let's just move on, please. If you get deplatformed, will you keep streaming? Most likely. But we'll figure it out. Accountability is their favorite word. It's my favorite word too. It's really funny.